Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Seeing Beyond and Through with Monty. Well, within the past couple of days, it was announced that Black Lives Matter apparel will not be allowed at the upcoming Tokyo Olympic ceremonies. Now, that is ceremonies. Apparently, many people spoke without understanding what this actually meant. And by not understanding that, they had requested that black athletes boycott. So basically, they wanted these athletes here who had trained for years upon years upon years, who have spent thousands upon thousands of hours and dollars in their chosen sport to excel to the highest level. They wanted them to boycott these Olympics because they are offended that Black Lives Matter apparel is not allowed at the ceremonies. Now, I took issue with that, and I'm against the idea of them boycotting. And the reason why I'm against this idea is because on the outside looking in, it's very easy to suggest to someone or tell someone to boycott if you have not spent the hours or the money or the energy training for your particular sport. It is very easy for you to tap a key online and suggest that someone boycotts. And secondly of all, we as black people, we have a very short attention span. Are we really going to remember next week who boycotted? Are we really going to be grateful and show appreciation for a sacrifice in which they have made if they boycotted? Most of us know. That's the short answer to that. And boycott for what? Here's the problem with that. Unless you are going to, all the days of your life, never going to disrespect, speak down, mock, criticize, not help a black person, unless you're going to never do anything negative towards a black person in your whole life, anything, what's the point of boycotting? Really, I don't see the point with that. It really is a foolish idea, to be honest with you, because you have got to read the fine print as to what they are talking about here. Now, they have stated that Black Lives Matter apparel will not be allowed at the ceremonies. However, in interviews, you can don Black Lives Matter. In fact, as opposed to boycotting, there are many other ways that you can get around that. You can promote Black Love Matters. You can change the wording around to Black Lives. All Black Lives Matter. Black People Matter. See, you can get around that. They said they're going to not allow Black Lives Matter apparel, but they did not say anything about a fist pump, a Black Power fist pump. So therefore, the idea of a boycott to me is foolish. No, it would just pretty much ruin a lot of athletes. And what if you had someone who's an unknown, who's new to their chosen sport, and they chose to boycott? They set it out. What good is it going to do anyway? you're not going to know who they are. And what would happen if someone goes to the Olympics, they win a gold medal, they become very high profile, they get millions of followers on social media, and then they speak to the Black Lives Matter cause? You see how beneficial that can be? As opposed to the foolish suggestion of boycotting? No. Now, let's read the fine print as to what they are actually talking about. Tokyo Olympic athletes will not be allowed to wear Black Lives Matter apparel at games ceremonies this summer. Officials have confirmed. That's part of the ban on protest and political messages. The IOC revealed its broad policy 2 weeks ago on no demonstrations on the field or play during an official ceremony or at the podium. But the Associated Press reported this week officials have now confirmed BLM apparel is included in that ban. Officials will say Black BLM slogans will be allowed during at least some parts of the games. So people, therefore, it's not completely banned. It will be allowed in some parts of the games. And at press conferences, during interviews, and at team meetings. So at press conferences, during interviews, and at team meetings, it will be allowed. But they stress, if the messaging comes during official ceremonies, at the podium, or during competition, athletes could be subject to punishment. The IOC has said the ban on protesting was put in place after a majority of the 3,500 athletes it polled were in favor of strict rules against demonstrations. So they're claiming that it was the athletes who approved of this. A very clear majority of athletes said that they think it's not appropriate to demonstrate or express their views on the field of play, at the official ceremonies, or at the podium. IOC Athletic Commission Chief Christy Conventry said, so our recommendations is to preserve the podium, field of play, and official ceremonies from any kind of protest or demonstrations or acts perceived as such. It's unclear what kind of punishment athletes would. Go to the second one. It's unclear what kind of punishments athletes will be subject to if they break the rules. The IOC is saying for now it is going to be determined on a case-by-case basis. So those calling for athletes to boycott, you spoke a bit too soon. As you can see, the apparel is allowed at certain parts or in certain places of the ceremonies, just not on the field or at the official ceremonies where they're giving the medals. They don't want any type of protest there. So these athletes definitely show up, show out, show how great you are, show what you have been working towards, show the amount of time, effort, money that you spent to have made you great. So, no, these athletes are going. They're not going to boycott. They're not going to boycott for you or for me. I didn't ask them to. Secondly, it's not even worthy because they can't protest. The Olympics are only a 2-week ceremony, a 2 weeks games. It's about it. After they come back, many of them with gold medals, silver medals, bronze medals, they have their whole life to protest. on their own terms, how they feel. So I don't have a problem with this here per se. So it may keep some of the athletes single-mindedly focused on what they need to do there, on what they came to do there. It's been very stressful with putting off the games for a year due to COVID. I'm sure that some athletes had ideas of retiring after those last Olympics, had they would have been held in 2020. So we don't need to put any more stress on anyone for a request that we don't understand, that we have not paid any money into, that we have not put any time or effort into training them or watching them train. No, it's their choice, their call. And that's going to be respected. And as I stated before, they just need to go there and show how great and wonderful they truly are. And then come back to the United States of America and protest all you want. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is another edition of Seeing Beyond and Through with Monty, and I will see you beyond and through.